Gerardo D'Amore, the food maverick. Today we're going to be making a Napolitana dough, authentic, simple as pie. So, you're going to need a madia or a wooden board container or a bowl, 0-0 flour, which I separated into two with a little bit more on the side because I'll show you why we need this later. I have some fresh yeast, which has been already started with a little bit of the fresh water, so it gets the fermenting process going and the leavening. And you're gonna need some Mediterranean salt. Hey, that's what I found. So, most importantly, the Italian water, nice and lukewarm. It's gonna be perfect. You're gonna want to start making the well at the bottom of the madia. You want to see the bottom. Make sure that you have a nice, clean well. And at this point, you're gonna make sure you got one hand clean and one hand for the mixing. So the first thing we're gonna add is our water. You wanna add all the water at the bottom. Then, the Mediterranean salt. Make sure you get it nicely homogenized and melted. And don't worry about the water, it's gonna stay all over the place. It's gonna be perfect because the flour is not exactly incorporating with the water at this time. You're just getting some surface. So as long as you don't feel any grains, you're good to go. Then we're gonna add our preset yeast that we added, fresh yeast with some water. And you wanna get it all in there. And that goes into the water. And you wanna start blending in all the sides. Using a madia is nice because you're not gonna lose any water and it's not gonna spill out all over the place. And you wanna get yourself a nice little paste going. That's why you don't add all the flour at one shot. So we got this beautiful mixture, which is like a slurry. The reason we don't add the yeast with the salt is because the salt is gonna kill the yeast and stop it from reacting like it's supposed to react. Always keeping one hand clean. You bring in some of the flour, you add a little bit of the flour, and you continue with the mixing. Always, I like to use my little finger on the outside to bring it in, and always clean the sides. And you'll see that the dough is starting to react. It's starting to get nice and soft, bubbly. A little bit more flour. You always add all the flour, and I like to remove, like I told you before, I like to remove maybe 200 grams of flour, just in case you don't have enough water. You don't want to add more water, but you want to have less flour, because if you have water after, it's just not going to give you that texture you need. It won't homogenize with the dough. So as you can see, the beautiful dough is nice and sticky. It grabs from the sides. Rest of the flour. At this point, you've added all your flours inside. I like the madia because you can actually put your weight onto the bowl and keep it going. So at this point, you'll see that your hand is very sticky. You want to get some of the flour, and you don't mind some of the flour going in there. And with that, you're going to clean your hand completely with the flour, and you have a beautiful clean hand to work with. Okay, there's a bit of flour on it. It's okay, I'm the food maverick, I'm allowed to do those things. And so are you, by the way. So as it goes in, now you get the flour onto your hands nicely, and you're gonna bring it around and start working it. Always work it in this fashion. You wanna just work this dough now inside this madia beautifully. And as you can see, it's all coming together. I'm taking the dry side, putting it over the wet side so it absorbs. At this point, you don't have to really be too caring on the shape of the dough, because at this point, you want to just absorb all the flour that's around into the humid spots. In fact, you'll notice that I've got about 60-70 grams here, but maybe I won't even use. But you're gonna still keep it on the side in case you want to add. So beautiful madia, you can bring the dough around like that into the sides, really absorbing everything nicely. And this is not the place where you're gonna shape the dough. This is where you're gonna be working the dough to get the glutens going and the beautiful shape that you want to have. And you'll see after the how it's going to smoothen out when you actually take the dough in like this, and it's beautiful. You see the beautiful humid part, which we're going to absorb all the flours in, and you feel the humidity. Wherever it's humid, you absorb the flour. See that where it's nice and humid here? You can take the flour and actually put it in and work it. This is a small batch, so it's perfect for the madja. And you can feel the dough tightening up. You feel the gluten's working. So you want to pull it around and pinch it at the bottom, like this. So you got the beautiful ball starting to form. You feel humidity, you go right back in and you absorb the flour that's there. And you don't have to worry about the flour now, because the flour is going to get absorbed. The flour will always continue absorbing. It's not like semolina that absorbs and dries out. So once the dough is all nice and ready, this is the time you could do whatever you like with the dough. After this, it gets a touch more tricky, but when I say tricky, it's not that tricky. If you know the rules, you're good to go. So once you've made this dough, you're going to want to cover it with a nice damp cloth and let it sit for 24 hours, because it's a 24-hour dough. So this one here has been made. Got the damp cloth on the top, and the dough is ready for punching. You're pinching the bottom like this. It's the simplest way to do it, or you could roll it out on the table. Once it's all nicely pulled back, you'll see that it's nice and tight and it springs back. Now you know that you're gonna put it back for another 5-6 hours. And we're just gonna set this up to make the balls. So cut it down the middle. Get our pizza doughs ready. The motion you want to have is using your fingers on the outside to pinch the dough and push it back down and out. The thumb and the fingers do the work, and the palm is pushing the dough away. So you're gonna have beautiful, nice, tight dough under your fingers. You're gonna feel it tightening up. Once it's all nice and tightened up, you pinch it, bring it around, and the dough is nice and stiff. At this point, it's gonna have strength to grow again. While it's growing again, it's very important that the dough comes to a nice, soft, risen dough. Then I'll explain to you exactly after, when we're stretching it, why we do that. Let's go fire up that oven and make some bella pizza napolitana. So the first thing you're going to start off with is a beautiful impasto, a nice dough made of Italian ingredients, which when you stretch, it should rest and it should not be nervoso. Nervoso meaning that the dough should not pull back. It has to rest, so when you're stretching it and you're making a nice corona all the way around, about 1 inch, you got a beautiful set pizza. So stretching it is not a science. You want to make sure you don't make any holes. Nice and straight all the way through. That's it. Then you're gonna have your ingredients, which, mind you, when making this dough, all the ingredients that I use come from Italy. Italian water, Italian yeast, Italian flour, Italian love. The cheese is from Italy, the tomatoes from Italy. Everything is Italian. And you're gonna tell me that, how do you get all these ingredients? They're readily available in every single store. So once you have all this beautiful stretching that's happened, you get the tomato, you put it on the top, and we're gonna make a simple pizza to start out with, and then we'll get a little bit more complicated. So there you go. And then you take the fiore di latte, and the fiore di latte is a beautiful cheese, which is fresh from Italy, like mozzarella di bufala. This is fiore di latte, and it's beautiful. And from here, after you finish stretching the pizza, we put it on the peel, and we're gonna put it inside an oven that is at the floor. The base of the oven is at about 600 degrees, but the oven inside is 900 degrees, 880 to 920 degrees. This pizza will not last more than 30 seconds, 35 seconds inside that oven, and it's gonna be perfect. Let's get it inside.